Hello, we are live and direct. Welcome to the episode of The Card Show. Hope everyone is well. In this week's episode, I was going to go through a bit of a Q&A because I've had some questions that have been quite similar. But there was one, wasn't like a question I get asked a lot, but I thought it was an interesting pod to talk about, interesting topic to talk about, if we say. So I'm going to delve into that. And it's sort of getting started as a sort of a investor or a flipper or a reseller, whatever you want to call it, in the hobby. I think because of the scale of things at the moment of changing with tops and licenses, it's an interesting one to talk about. So I'm going to give my thoughts. Yeah. So without further ado, let's just get into it. I'll do another Q&A week, another week. Again, I only really do them when I get similar questions. It just, even though I answer them there and then in the DMs or wherever people ask me, I do like to do a pod just so it's out there as well, and that's stratosphere. But yes, I will get into this. So as a question of how to sort of, if I was getting started into hobby, where to sort of start, that sort of drive, which is it's always nice to get new people into the hobby and they're coming across the content, which is always nice. So they messaged on Insta, so I presume that's how they found my profile. They don't have seen anything on YouTube prior or TikTok. I'm not messaging a lot of content there recently, but yes. But no, it also sounds good that someone's getting into the hobby for a bit of advice. So, obviously I did message this person back. But I thought, for people who may just come across this, they might have a pod that you should go through on the playlist, or they might just search it, or they might come across their algorithm maybe of starting investing sort of as opposed to collecting a hobby. Because I think when it comes to collecting, it's a lot easier. If you're a Liverpool fan, you're going to collect Liverpool cards, right? And if you are a Liverpool fan, but you're only 15 years old, you're probably going to collect cards from the last 10 or so years from players you remember. Whereas, you're not going to want to be going to get these like Ian Rush autos unless that's sort of been ingrained in you from your parents, something, or further the influences in your life. It's a lot, like with cards. No one can tell you what to collect, can they really? No one can say, oh, don't collect Prism, from 2012, or don't collect this, that, the other. It's your personal collection. So that's how things. It's a very easy, short pod. It's already over 2 minutes 40. But when it comes to investing, there's a lot of factors. Obviously, when it comes to sort of rarity, is going to be a big factor. Obviously, your cash flow is a factor. Do you buy pre-graded and then wait for a selling market? Wait, so a selling marker, i.e., performance spike, transfer, move to a team, etc. Do you buy raw? I had to value by grading it, hoping it comes a 10 or a 9. Again, 9's not. A lot of 9s aren't doing much more than raw at the moment, which is ludicrous if you ask me. But there's still some ways to be on 9s. I think that I said the easiest, the first place to start, should we say? It's the easiest place. The first place to start is identifying the cards, right? Anyone can say that people like to collect Prism. We know Prism does well, Prism Silvers, etc., and variants of Prism as a card does well. It doesn't mean you can go out and just start buying Prism. You have to know all the sets, the parallels. Some are numbered, some are not. Sometimes you'll get a certain parallel or an insert may be numbered and the layer may not be. So you have to know the products. You have to know, sometimes more than that, you have to know the players as well. Believe it or not, you can get away with just knowing sort of the top 5 or 10 from draft class or top players and get away with it that way. Sometimes you can pick up some random rookie card for 99 cents, a pound, whatever it may be, and just by chance you get it created, it comes at 10, and you could be in this card for 16, 17 pounds. This rookie gets a chance and absolutely smashes it with his NBA, NFL, absolutely has a breakout performance, and all of a sudden everyone's searching for these cards, and you so happen to own at the time a very, very low pop because maybe a lot of people didn't want to invest in this, maybe the third round pick or undrafted free agent, whatever it may be. and it can have spikes. Maybe it's the backup quarterback or the third string quarterback. We've seen it over the years in NFL where the quarterbacks get injured and it's the third string guy getting called up, and they don't have anything apart from like a leaf card. So there's other things to factor in, but I think one of the my soundest advice, my one advice would be there'd be a lot of people just telling you to buy it, get it graded or whatever, or buy it and sell it because it'll make money. Because and it's like base stuff. I would stay away from base. Do money's made in base? Don't get me wrong. If you get the base card as soon as it comes out, you get it graded. There'll be surprisingly, it tells if you can get the base card through a break and list it straight away, sometimes you can get that card can be $5, $10, $15 card because yes, there's been crazy instances. There we go. That was difficult to say on a late Sunday night. Instances of the Mac Jones Donruss base was going for a ridiculous price. These people love the whole first, right? People want to be first. People love that sort of thing. People want to get the rookies first. So there is money to be in base, but it's a larger field, if that makes sense. You'd be playing with thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of this one card. Whereas if you get a silver variant, people love silver variants for some reason. I like silver variants as well. Prism Silver, Optic Hollows, to the biggest ones. They are less, so they're not numbered, but they're a more of a sought after and limited version of a card parallel. Then after that, you have obviously numbered, where it may be 399, 299, 499. The lower the number, the better. But obviously, it's more expensive. It's probably going to cost you at the first point. Usually it's going to, if may get looking at auctions, or people aren't looking, or someone may list it for a price with the best offer. They may be trying to get it quick, so you can lowball them, not lowball them, but offer a bit less. And then, just so happens that the night after it goes for an extra $30, $40 on an auction, all of a sudden the comp goes up a little bit. By the time you get the card and you can do what you want to do with it, the comp may go a little bit higher. It may also go a bit lower. But at least with being numbered, it has that scarcity factor to it. So, getting numbered stuff is always going to be good because it brings that scarcity to it. But again, just because it's numbered doesn't mean all of a sudden it's a demand for it. You can get cards. Zenith, we're going to pronounce that one, is something that not a lot of people go after. So the numbered cards in there. Phoenix as well, another one. Score, these all produce numbered cards, but not many people will go for them unless it's like a one of one, because people love like the one of one factors, and maybe sort of fives and really limited numbers. And again, more often than not, you won't see the full five listed in the end times. Usually they end up in the sort of collector's hands quite early on, and you may see one pop up here and there. So usually if you're looking at eBay, I'd say it's probably going to be the easiest place to start looking for cards. You're usually going to find maybe to 50s to 75s, 99s, that sort of stuff, 100 to 125s, 150s, 149s, where it may be on that area, 299s, all that sort of jazz. Like the higher number stuff will be plentiful, which is obviously has its pluses, has its downsides, right? If it's on there plentiful, it means there's not that much demand for it. But also on the flip side, it means it's a card that you can get, and if you have the capital, you can get a few of them, and you can sort of not control the market, so to speak, but you'd have a bigger share, right? If you own 10 to like 150s, then you're saying at 100 over 40 where people have to have them sort of lifted as well, right? To bring a new comp in. If they're in the hands of collectors already, you need is the 141st person, 142nd person to start weighing this card, maybe to complete a set, or maybe just a lower number that they want to improve their collection. They have to 250. I think I can sell this, put a little bit extra money in, and get to 150 or 175, and and it just means more to that person, right? So that's another thing to do. Another way of obviously of getting money. Autographs are obviously always big. Again, they do a base autographs, so it's going to be a lot more. Then you have numbered. Again, on something like Prism, you have silvers where aren't numbered, but again, they're not a base. So there's that sort of thing. People have autographs, obviously. It brings that sort of extra feeling to a card, right? And I think we can get into all that sort of stuff of, if you get autographs, people the on card is gonna have a bit more value than a sticker auto. People like the fact that the their idol, the main P or the person they like, has touched that card, held it in their hand, and physically wrote out the little autograph. Sometimes write a little inscription on there, whereas with stickers, it's a lot harder to write an inscription, right? You've got this little square, the rectangle, so to write your autograph. It's hard to write an autograph and then sort of put something else in there. So that's another thing that adds in value, that you can always look for. Some people write in the description and sell it raw. Sometimes people don't put it in there, and is when I've made some plays similar where people just sort of represent a card. Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. Sometimes people will say that a card is numbered when it's not, and sometimes they'll say it's not numbered. They'll just say it's a prism orange, and they won't say it's numbered. So people sort of bypass it, scrolling past. You look at the pictures and you see in the back, it'll say it's out of 249 or whatever, and then all of a sudden you go, oh, do you know what? No one's really looking at it. Get it a steal. It's happened to me a few times. I picked up a few steals that way for my personal collection. It always seems to work out for my personal collection, never for cards I'm trying to flip, interestingly enough. But I feel a lot more diligent that way, which is interesting. Same again with patches. There was a big thing, game use patches over non-associated, nothing to do. There was a time when they just go to the shops, cut up a red cloth and put it in a card. Unfortunately, there's this player worn as well that kind of has it's like a kind of acceptable. So that will sort of pass. But if you can get game used, it's gonna have that sort of higher pull. Not a major one, but it makes a card that much more right. This is only gone from a game worn jersey with an on card auto. It's like the holy grail, isn't it? It's like the best you can get. So these are things to look into. Is it going to be on card? Is it sticker? It's not. It's not the difference of making or breaking, but it is a big difference, especially when it comes to valuing a card. And these are things you can look into, and looking at the card, hopefully listening to the descriptions, finding out about the product. It's not as easy as just, I'll watch soccer and I know Messi, so I just buy Messi cards. Unfortunately, it's not that easy. You have to do a bit of work. You have to do, get your hands dirty, get in the trenches and do some work. So that's definitely something I would recommend. There's knowing what people are after. I've talked about prisms or optic. People are the optic rookies. Obviously now times are kind of changing. There was a weird sort of feeling towards like the unlicensed side of cards, whether that'd be Leaf, Wild Card. There was someone else, whoever it may be. They were doing cards again that were unlicensed. But again, it was usually cheaper to get their autos. So I remember a couple of years back, there was the whole Giannis one. Giannis had some nice Leaf autos where you couldn't really tell it was unlicensed. They did the photos very well. It was sort of like the back of his, he's like the back of him, he's turning, and his auto was where his name would have been on the jersey. Looked nice, and it was a third of the cost of his licensed autos. From Panini, I think it was. And what I mean by licensed and unlicensed, obviously, is they have the rights to get the player's autograph. They don't have the licenses to have the team jersey. And again, we're seeing that now with Topps, where they have the rights to produce the cards. They don't have the licenses just yet. So you're seeing all the NFL cards this year. Finally, getting these autos of players. For myself, I'm picking up Xavier Worthy autos in Topps. This is his rookie year, but it's not licensed. But his licensed stuff are his Prism stuff, so it's all in kits, the Kansas City Chiefs uniform, yet no autos. So yeah, ebbs and flows. If what you really want, there was a time when to be buying and investing so much money into unlicensed stuff was unheard of and classed as stupid investments, that sort of stuff. I can tell straight Leaf over the last few years have done a very, very good job of a lot of beautiful cards and makes a profit on them quite a lot because they were getting people autographs way before everyone else was. And, I think they're doing a thing where they were getting these autographs people and like leasing them out. So I think that's happened to Haaland. That's why he was in Tops and Panini products, if I'm not wrong, because he was actually a Leaf athlete who was then licensed out. I'm trying to think of similar. I don't think anyone was similar. I can think off the top of my head, but we're seeing it this year now with Patrick Mahomes. He has some Leaf autos. I think someone else he signed for as well, maybe Sage. But now he's just signed with Panini as well, so we should get Panini cards next year with Mahomes on, or this year, hopefully, but next year. We shall see. We shall see, because when their license runs out. But because of this whole license change, obviously in Top, not a license, but people love Tops and Fanatics. It's a big machine. There is now this sort of switch in mentality a little bit that unlicensed cards, more so if it's because it's Tops. If it's unlicensed, it's Tops. If it's Tops, it's okay. But yeah, the people still want what they want. They still want autos of rookies, right? And so the autos. If it's Leaf that have signed this auto, these autos, and said Leaf are the first ones to have CJ Stroud autos and in uniform, yes, unlicensed, so it wasn't full badge uniform, but in Texans uniform autos. Same with Kerry Williams. So there's a lot of money to be made that way, especially being first in the market. We're having these star players in their team uniform autographs if the other companies aren't doing it for ages away. So it's something else to look into, and look into. Again, there's many tools out there. I could recommend stuff like, I'm going to say the first because I find it the easiest to use, and I have a promotion code for you guys as well. So that is marketmoversapp.com. And if you want to use Market Movers app, free 14-day trial, just go into marketmoversapp.com, use the code Mahomes, MAHOMES. I don't know why I paused there. MAHOMES. Couldn't spell Mahomes for a second, even though it's right there. If you're watching, wait, where's my? Nope, other way. A lot harder, isn't it, that way? There we go. Wait, oh, there we sort of go. Yeah, MAHOMES. For those that aren't watching and just listening, just hear me waffle. I'm sorry about that. I was putting it into Mahomes, but I couldn't remember which side of the screen it was on with my finger pointing the camera. So yeah, MAHOMES, and you get a 14-day free trial, and you can get to try the most expensive version of Market Movers, and you can, after 20 days, say it was good, but don't want to pay this much. Probably not. Maybe I'll go to a middle tier or a lower tier, or maybe just it isn't for you. You don't like the user interface. I find it easiest. I think it's one of the most extensive, so that's one I recommend. But again, you may find different user interfaces or different ways of looking for cards and looking at data history or sort of stuff on different apps. There's obviously Card Ladder. There is Card Hedger, and 130 Point. 130 Point is a little bit different because you just sort of type in a card and it just looks like sales, whereas with Market Movers app, etc., you can go onto individual cards, check a history of that card, see what it's been doing for the last 30 days, 60 days, 120 days, 365 days, etc. And that's always good because you can see if you're buying cards then that aren't new cards. You can sort of see if there's been like performance spikes or if it's hyped certain times. And you'll see patterns of, sort of highs at the beginning of the season, maybe people buying into hype. You might see a few little spikes here and there for performances. You might see a bit of a lull, a bit of a low point around about December-ish sometimes. Usually because people want cash, so they're just trying to cash out on certain cards that maybe not sold from October, November. They want to refresh New Year sort of thing. Same with people getting to like playoffs, championships, etc. There's a bit of a spike there. When the season's down, it dips down again. So you can see sort of good time to buy, sell, buy at end of seasons, after the season ended and people talking about other things. And buy in before big shows like the National or before the season starts, get ready to sell, when the hype's there. There's obviously other factors as well. People like to get the cards and get through a cleaning scenario, whether that's like a Mr. Minty or just using a microfiber, whether it's Kurt's Card Care. People want to use these products to sort of give their cards the best chance possible getting a 10, because 10 is where the market is strongest, your biggest return of investment. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of defining factors, right? Unfortunately, it is one you have to sort of look into and research yourself. But hope these sort of things help you as well. I know some people like to just stay in like one lane, so they'll just do like NFL, for instance. They just say, right, NFL is what I'm going to do. It's where the biggest sort of money is, and probably agree. I think NFL card hobby wise is probably number one, um, which is kind of strange because I'd say there's only maybe more than a handful, but there's a couple of dozen, 24 sort of players really that you're going to be cycling around. That it's usually the quarterbacks. It's not like you're buying all wide receivers, or all the tight ends, or all the running backs, or even on the defense side. It's not like yeah, it's just not like you're going to be after every sort of player on that roster, right? 53-man roster, you're not going to be on there. Same with basketball, you probably do you really want the people really chasing centers that much? Is that where the money's at? It's kind of limiting yourself in some respects, but also helps you focus, narrow down. So if it's just quarterbacks NFL, you know where to be looking, who you think is going to do well this season, who you think is going to go, be important for the draft and be where the hype's going to be. And there's all these sort of things where you got to start. And that's another thing to think about is your silly marker. We've seen, unfortunately, that when people pass away, there is a silly marker. They have Kobe, Pete Alonso, someone else that died recently, so I can't think of his name. It's killing to absolutely bug me. Jerry West, there we go. Jerry West, obviously a logo man himself. And it brings, and some people do, which I wouldn't personally, but prospects on sort of death. If you think, these guys, these legends of the game are getting older, they're gonna potentially pass away soon. It could be something to hold for next 5-10 years, and wait for that. That's your prerogative, right? That's up to you. You're really looking for other sell markers as will there be hype this player, this team going to season? Will they have big performances for that season? Will they make the playoffs? Will they be, are they going to challenge? They're the sort of ones that are easier to get involved in, get in and out. I'm not too adverse to people holding cards for X amount of time. It's always easier, I suppose, in some respects because of the cash flow to just be in and out. I always say added value to a card to sort of maximize your chance of getting money. You buy the card raw. So I've been first in buying it raw, getting it graded, get it on the market, pushing it out. We always see that the price is always highest. As soon as it comes out, there's that big demand, the new product, the latest, greatest, the first, put it down again. Don't get me wrong, you can go kind of back up to that sort of heights, with spikes, but usually doesn't go back up that high. There'd be a few outliers where it does go higher than when it first came out, especially if they're not a big hype player. But usually the top hype ones, they're just big at start, especially because they don't come out before the season's happening. If you look at NFL, the Jaden Daniels stuff's come out after his pushing towards the playoffs sort of thing, and everyone's on the hype and getting crazy for him. I think Prison came out after his playoffs, right, or just during the playoffs. So, there's those factors as well. The time of year the products come out, when you can get them, when you can get them graded. What's your turnaround time for grading? Are you having to buy the card in the US? How's that sell sent to your locker? Do you then collect a few more cards there? You then send them over. So all of a sudden you could be 2 weeks behind a lot of the Americans. And then you're going to maybe inspect the card. Maybe you're going to send it to a middleman. Then they're going to send it out at the end of the month to the grading company. Then they're going to get graded. That's going to be there for 3 months plus. Then it goes back to the middleman. Then it goes back to you. And all of a sudden, yes, you've got a graded card, but you have waited anywhere from 5 months now. Whereas people in the US have got it, sent it grading. Done. I mean, they have the option of going to some shows and doing grading. You may pay a premium and get express grading for the couple of days it takes. And they've capitalized because they pay more to get grading done, but there's no other PSA 10s in the market at the time. It might be a really low pop, and they'll push it. Pop one. these cards, and the pop report is something to look after a few months. People get too excited with this pop report, and low pop, it's PSA 10 pop, 50. And it's been out like a month. I expect it to be a pop figure, 50. Give it a few months. If 50 after a month, Jesus, what's it going to be like in 4 months, 5 months? So, unless it's a numbered card and it's, to 99 and say, oh, PSA 10, pop 5, you go, oh, Jesus, quite impressive. What's the rest of the pops? You see a pop 30 something for PSA 9s and pop 20 for 8s. You go, okay, that's a good portion of does this 99. Maybe the other pop will be, don't forget the population doesn't include all grading. They'll just say PSA pop, PSA the 10 pop, 10 whatever. There could be a BGS pristine 10, BGS 9.5, SGC 10, CGC 10s out there, so bear that in mind as well. Different grading companies. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave at that point because I think there's so much more to add to this, and it could be a long one. But yeah, let me know if you thought that was useful, talking about the differences and things to look for. And I guess when you're starting out, it is unfortunately is about putting in work, and I think there's no sort of shortcuts or cheat sheets. The advice I can only give is to put the work in. Look at invest in what you know. Is I always say that as well. I preach that part. If that's what you want to do, you want to get into sort of investing. Don't start going, oh, I'm going to buy NHL cards. When you don't need to buy NHL. It makes it so much harder, and you want to try and make this process as easy as possible. So yeah, don't try and invest in the sport, and don't put more in. Don't do it like break it and get yourself in debt. Make sure you have this money and say, right, each month I'm gonna have £100 or $100. This is where it's gonna go. This is what I'm gonna do. I might buy $100 card this month. The next month I'm gonna I'm gonna use 70 of that to get some graded. Number 30 to pick up a few more cards. One for that graded, etc., etc. Or have $100, whatever it is, for getting cards, and then money for grading. Because don't forget that adds up as well. If you're picking up cards, and let's say your average card is anywhere from $10 to $25 to $30, you still got to add another $20, $15, whatever it may be, for grading at a time. So that adds that on. So just bear that in mind. And then obviously you can have that money tied up if it's raw card. Again, it's different if it's already graded, because you can buy it. You can think, oh, it's a bit of a lull at the moment. That's another option you could do. You could buy graded cards when people are a bit low on it, and you can see the data from whatever sort of data dating app you choose. And then you have the option then of saying, do you know what, I think it's a good time to buy now. I know in 2 months' time, when people are starting to talk about or going to the national or talking about the season starting, the hype will be there. I'll sell then, and not every profit has to be 100x or 20x, whatever. It's about making a profit each time, whether it's make sure, when I say profit, that's fees included. If you're buying a card for $10, you're getting it graded for 15. You got to think, the shipping, etc. Say you're into card for 50, make sure you sell a card for 75. You made profit. So if 85, 95, it's all profit, right? So that's what you got to think about, shipping it as well as all included in the costs. Knowing your costs, and it'll help you in the long run. Yeah, we'll talk. I will do another part of this if need be. We'll talk about sort of the different grading companies and turnaround versus sort of the PSA scenario. Is it worth going to a quicker turnaround company than to PSA? Does PSA have the highest sort of value in the market and stuff like that? But generally speaking, you have to put the work in, know the sport, know what people want in terms of products, and know not to waste your money. And don't go out there just buying the latest score products just because it's brand new and buy base sort of stuff, because you might find it struggle to sell. But yeah, I hope that helps anyone else. And let me know if I miss anything in this part 1 you want me to add in part 2. But until next time, take care and peace.